Mullen Automotive is a company that divides opinion. Not only do retail investors differ in opinion, but so do reputable websites. For example, MarketBeat writes, "This is why Mullen Automotive could hit $1 really fast." While Investors Place write, "Don't be tempted by the low price, avoid Mullen stock at all costs." Interestingly, just a few days later, Investors Place was asking, "Is Mullen CEO David Mitchery the next Elon Musk?" And there is loads of articles on Seeking Alpha, ranging from Mullen being a stock to avoid now, right down to Mullen being a stock to buy right now. So clearly opinions are divided. What's up investors and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to share the facts about Mullen stock and its CEO that will blow your mind. Not only will I look at whether this is a stock to avoid or a stock to buy, but I will be digging deep into the history of the company's CEO and what previous investors have to say. I will also talk about the Fortune 500 company that we were promised, as well as the battery technology and the Dragonfly K50, and I will address some of the FUD being spread about Mullen stock. This is not an update that you want to miss, this is very serious, so stick around until the end. If you enjoy my Mullen videos and want me to keep creating regular updates, can I ask you to smash the like button? By liking the video and dropping a comment, you're letting me know that you want to see more of this type of MUL in stock content. I'm aiming to get 500 likes. This video took more digging and more research than usual, and I know that with honest analysis I will get dislikes too. So help me achieve my goal of 500 likes, it literally costs you nothing. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the bell notification. Now let's get into this due diligence analysis of Mullen Automotive. Mullen stock. Is Mullen CEO David Mitchery the next Elon Musk, or is he closer to Lordstown Steve Burns? Either way, investors should be careful what they wish for. As Elon Musk steps away from the EV world, a new contender for the startup crown is emerging, Mullen Automotive's David Mitchery. Like Elon Musk, the charismatic founder of Mullen has gained almost cult-like status among his supporters. Minor appearances in online interviews can fuel days of speculative buying. And each new capital raise seems to be met with plenty of retail demand. As Mullen's cash burn continues, however, investors are rightly beginning to wonder whether Mr. Mitchery is indeed the next Elon Musk or the next Steve Burns of Lordstown Motors. So this is where things get interesting. A bumpy ride for Mullen stock. Nowhere are these risks clearer than at Mullen Automotive, a $280 million firm with promises to build an end-to-end electric vehicle company. In many ways it looks like an early version of Tesla. In 2012, CEO David Mitchery bought the assets of Coda Automotive and Mullen Motor Cars as a bet on the green transportation technologies. Guys, I'm going to talk about this in more detail later on in the video, so stick around for that. The firm would acquire auto dealership CarHub 6 years later and push into direct retail. So the California-based company has also pursued headline-grabbing ideas, from extracting drinking water from the air in its cars to cramming 1,000 horsepower into an EV sports crossover, creating a steady buzz that has helped Mr. Mitchery to raise $132 million in debt and equity since mid-2021. But Mullen lacks even the basic protections of Tesla's corporate structure. Tight insider control and generous self-dealing at Mullen mean that CEO David Mitchery now owns about 45% of the company's voting shares once warrants and preferred shares are counted. This comes despite years of diluting shareholders. Outstanding shares have increased 900% in the past year alone. Now this article was written about a month ago or so. There is far more than a 900% increase in the past year. As we can see from this graph, the share price has been dropping in almost direct correlation to the massive increase in shares at Mullen, and this will not stop anytime soon. This article from last month stated that Mullen is getting ready to resell 900 million shares of Mullen stock, and this is where things start to get really interesting. 7 selling shareholders for the offering. Below is a list of shareholders, followed by the maximum number of shares allowed to be sold. Like you can see here, Isauza Holdings and Equitas, for example, can sell over 300 million shares each. Mullen has received authorization to issue up to a total of 2.25 billion shares of common stock. Of those shares, 1.75 consist of common stock, while the remaining 500 consist of preferred stock. As of October 10, the company had 878 million shares outstanding of common stock. At the beginning of 2022, the outstanding shares was about 28 million. So this increase is shocking. And guys, I've put a link to this in the description, so feel free to check this out for yourselves, but just wait until you see some of the major facts that I have coming next. Because in fairness, this dilution is well known about, and anyone who tries to deny it is simply lying. It only takes a few minutes to go and look at the SEC filings to verify any of these things that I have said. But there's a lot of pumpers of this stock that would just call everything FUD and don't want new potential investors to know the truth. But while retail keeps buying up all these shares, David Mitry himself is selling. Multiple times this year he has sold his shares. Most recently, he sold nearly 18 million shares after being awarded 46 million shares for free. And this article written on deepdive.ca, it says here that when prodded about selling his shares, Mitry simply shrugged it off, saying that he decided to sell some stock, nothing more, nothing less. Every officer or director has the opportunity to sell based on the 1% rule per quarter, and they choose to. If they do, if they don't, they don't. I chose periodically to be able to take advantage of what I'm allowed to do under SEC rules, is what Mitry explained. Again, there is a link to this in the description below. This is the man who is literally selling as much as he legally can sell. But the real question is, who is David Mitry? What do we really know about him? What do we know about his history? Is this man really the next Elon Musk? And is Mullen Automotive really the next Tesla? So let's look at Mullen CEO David Mitry. Now this is something that I found very odd. So it says here, David brings a wealth of relevant knowledge and experience to the Mullen brand. He has notably created 12 trademarks so far to develop the company's brand and vision. But there's no mention of the trademarks here. What are these? Maybe they're looking to keep this as a short paragraph, so I'll move on. He has personally overseen several businesses that totaled over $1 billion in transactions and has demonstrated skill in building businesses from the ground up into successful entities that subsequently sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. So who are these businesses? I'm surprised that they're not mentioned here. Looking at his LinkedIn page, again there is no mention of all these companies, only this one, American Music Corporation. Once more, a red flag. There should be an entire history here, especially one that's supposedly hugely successful. And this is the American Music Corporation's website, nothing here. Then I found his profile on Market Screener, where there is a little more history with Primco and 7 Arts Music. In November 2012, David Mitry resigned from the board of directors, with the company's net loss increasing from $982,000 up to $1.35 million. But then I came across this. And on Investors Hub, this is what's written. And yes, this is talking about the same man. If this is not a big enough red flag, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Looking on Benzinga, we can see that on November 18th, less than 2 weeks after going public, while the share price was at its peak, he disposed of 750,000 shares and another 48,000 between January and December, before being awarded 1 million shares by the company at no cost later in January. Now, just to be clear, I have nothing against management of any company being awarded shares, but I do have a huge issue with disposals of shares as soon as a company goes public, for obvious reasons. Now, if it sounds like I'm being very bearish on this company, it is for very good reason. During my research, all the positives that I have found are very hopeful in many ways, wishful, whereas the negatives are unbelievably blatantly obvious. If you dig deep, you will come across this on August 2013 on the PMCM stock Primco Management, which David Mitry was CEO of. Johnny Trader 33 writes, David Mitry is a scam artist. He has been involved in many penny stocks. Most recent, 7 Arts Entertainment. 4 reverse splits in 5 years. Check his real record. Real, and I mean real artists, have to say about him. Again, another comment in 2017, Mitry is full of, don't believe a word he has to say in the past 4 years. Every PR out of his mouth is a lie. And did follow through with reverse splits not too long ago. On February 2014, G2G lists out 7 Arts reverse split history. A 1 for 5 split, another 1 for 5 split. This is before delisting from the Nasdaq, and then a 1 for 70, a 1 for 50, a 1 for 20, and a 1 for 100. As I said, if you take 10 minutes, you can check SEC filings and verify all this information. And here we can see from 7 Arts filings history, which I've had to dig back 10 years to go read. Starting in February 2014, the company effected a 1 for 100, a 1 for 20, 1 for 50, and 1 for 70 stock splits. So guys, if you appreciate this level of research, this level of due diligence, then smash that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. And for my viewers who want to support the channel even more, check out my Patreon page where you can support the channel for less than the cost of something like Netflix. And I have recently just set up a new private Discord community, so of course check this out too, with Patreon members getting access to an extra Discord level. Support the channel, check all of this out, and let's make those gains together. In fact, if you look at PMCM forum here, you will see a long list of angry investors and a very similar theme runs throughout. But there is one comment that got me more than most. And that is this one from Strategic Trader back in October 2014. And this reads, David Mitchery has pissed away PMCM's money for his own private pet projects. Look at the financial statements. He loaned company money to his own private company, Mullen. Never to get repaid ever. This went into Mullen Motors Cars or Mullen Technologies. He also committed $2 million he doesn't have to Coda Cars, a bankrupt car company that was laughed out of the industry. His schemes will all come to an end soon. Anyone who has ever done business with him hates him or sues him. He doesn't pay his bills or his employees. If he opens his mouth, he's lying. Beware Coda, beware Mullen investors. Guys, this is 8 years ago. This is 2014 and this is what was being said. These are PMCM investors wondering where their money is going. Their money was going into Mullen Motors. Nearly a decade later, where is PMCM and where is Mullen Motors? So overall, this is all very interesting, and several things come to mind looking at this. Back in the first half of the year, David announced that Mullen did a deal with a Fortune 500 company, and all would be revealed before the end of Q2. It is now nearly December and nothing, not a word from Mullen, and if you go back and look at what David Mitchery said, he said that the deal was done and they were getting the press release ready as we speak. That was back in May. They missed the June 30th deadline, so clearly that was total BS. Then of course the whole thing with the battery technology. Not only the suspicion over the actual battery test results, but the Next Metals partnership that senior Next Metals executives said didn't exist. As it says here, not a single piece of paper, and he proudly goes and shows the tweet. And about this time, the Next Metal representatives get up and walk out. And then of course only this week, Mullen's Bollinger Motors announced that they would source battery packs for its commercial EVs from Michigan-based startup Our Next Energy. Bollinger plans to use One's Aries line. Why not use Mullen batteries? Both companies are still in development and the time to market for the batteries is quite similar, so this does not make sense. But probably the most hitting red flag of the lot from Strategic Trader's post is this bit. Anyone who has ever done business with him hates him or sues him. He doesn't pay bills or his employees. If he opens his mouth, he's lying. Which is extremely interesting, since the deal Mullen did with Kiantu for the Dragonfly K50 ended in 2019, with Kiantu suing Mullen because they never paid. So the Dragonfly will never be sold by Mullen, it is not their car. As it says here, Mullen failed to pay 2 outstanding invoices for the amount of $22.8 million, and they want Mullen to cease the use of Kiantu's trademarks including the K50, its name, likeliness, image, brand. And then there is the case that there is a class action lawsuit filed against Mullen earlier this year too, over false and or misleading statements and or failed to disclose. So guys, if you want to hear more about this, then drop a comment down below. I highly recommend everyone to do your own due diligence. Remember that I'm not a financial advisor, this is not financial advice. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel and check out the Patreon page if you want to support the channel. My opinions are just my opinions, but if you enjoyed this content, subscribe and I'll see you in the next update video.